Hi, welcome to another card making. I'm going to use this stamp set today, and this is the card we're going to make. And what I've done is I've gone for 4 different cards using 4 different designer series papers, and the designer series paper that I'm using today is Tropical Sweet Oasis. I've used the watercolour cardstock to do the watercolouring with, and today we're going to do some watercolouring. For this set I used the real red to match the real red here, and with the one I'm going to demonstrate now I'm using Lovely lipstick to match the colours here. The other 2 cards I'll do off camera later on is using some DSP that was free with our celebrations that's now finished. I'm going to use the Melon Mambo with that, and I'm also going to make a card with using this is old DSP 6x6, and it was the wood grain and I really liked it, and I'm going to use soft suede with that. So I'm going to keep my design of the same design here with the colouring, but her dress will become the colour that coordinates with the DSP. So I'm going to do this one on camera, and then at the end I'll put a photograph of all the other ones completed. So let's get going. The first thing I want to do is I need to take my snail, and the DSPs are always double-sided too, so you can see there's a beautiful design on the back. So I'm going to take this one and pop this down. Oh, measurements, yes. So the card itself is 5 3/4 long by 8 1/4, scored at 4 1/8, and the DSP is 4 by 5 5/8. The watercolour paper I've cut down to be 3 7/8 by 5 1/4, I believe. And then the sentiment that I'm going to stamp now when I do my stamping is 1 inch by 1 inch by 3 7/8, and this is 1 1/4 inch by 4. Okay, so let's do some stamping. Today I'm using the StazOn Ink because I'm watercolouring and it's less likely to run. And your watercolour paper has a different feeling on both sides, so I'm going to use the smoother side. And the reason I'm going to do my sentiment too is that with this StazOn you need a special StazOn cleaner. You can't just wash your stamps off later. So let's do the sentiment first. And this sentiment is your somebody's blessing. I'm happy with that. I'm going to put that to one side. I take my cleaner, a wet wipe and a paper towel to just dry off. And as you can see, lovely and clean. So we're going to take my Rangitoto Island, I should say. It's an active, dormant volcano, I should say, not active. It's not active, it's dormant. And we've got a couple of birds flying, so that goes at the top of the watercolour. There we go. Again, use your StazOn cleaner. Wipe off with wet wipe, dry with a paper towel. And now we've got the young lady in what I think is a field of flowers, and I've chosen to use heather. Okay. And with the watercolour paper, just give the ink time to go into the paper because it's quite a bit more porous than the other one. Quite happy with that. So again, let's give her a wash. Thank goodness for wet wipes. And then we're going to take the extra flowers to go across. On my other card I had an area of stamping that didn't come out, so I just went over with a few more flowers, but I really like that. And that's all our stamping done. There we go. So this stuff evaporates because I think it's and it smells of marzipan. It's really weird. So make sure you get the lid on that straight away and on the cleaner. Okay, so now we're going to watercolour, one of my favourite things to do. Now these older Stampin' Up inks used to squeeze in the middle so that you could put your ink on the inside like this. These ones aren't so easy, they're quite firm, but eventually they do go. So I've got something there, but you do have to push quite a bit harder. So I'm going to do her dress first. This is an Aqua Painter. It's got water in here and a paintbrush, and you just treat it as if you're painting. Oh wow, that's really vivid. And the thing with watercolour is that it's not perfect. If you ever see a watercolour, watercolours run. And I'm keeping this quite dark on this side to give it shadow, and then going lighter as I go across. I love watercolouring and colouring in because for me it's a time to relax, and it's been a very stressful period. At the time of recording this, if you're watching this at the time I recorded it, we're in lockdown level 3 now in New Zealand, which means we're still working from home if we can. Only certain school children are going back to school. Only certain businesses are open for contactless sales. So today I ordered some bark and compost from my local Mitre 10, and I've got to pick that up on Thursday, which will be cool. So you can see I've coloured in the watercolour there, and I go back over with the stronger colour on the lines that the stamp gives you as the highlight of the dress. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. So in Aqua Painter, what you do to clean it off, you just keep painting it until it runs clear, and that now is dry, and that now is clean. So I'm putting away my lovely lipstick, and I'm going to do her arms. Now her arms I did with Petal Pink and Blushing Bride. I found the Blushing Bride was a bit pink, so I went over in the Blushing Bride, which was very pink, and then very quickly used the Petal Pink just to darken it up a bit. There we go, happy with that. And again, wipe out your brush. Okay, crumb cake for her hair. I'm going to do brown hair. Cool. Now I'm using Highland heather for the flowers because to me they just wanted that vibrancy of, and you can see that I'm not particularly going in the lines, because if you ever notice watercolour prints, they're not always in the lines. So I'm just making brush strokes. Now if you don't have this stamp set, you can draw something to watercolour. If you don't have watercolours, you can use coloured watercolour pencils, blenders, ink, crayons, anything that you've got. Still the kids colouring in pencils. If you don't have any stamp sets, get tracing and drawing your own little picture, because even if you haven't got all the things, colouring in can be very, very relaxing. I'm starting to relax even more now. And I'm finally taking Pear Pizzazz, which is a green, and I'm just going to do some brush strokes down here. Okay, so she is painted. So I'm going to bring my card base back, but first of all I'm going to turn it over because that paint water's a bit wet. And I'm going to raise this up with my what we call dimensionals, so you can use fine strips. There we go. So let me pop this on the card, try and get it straight as we can. And you can see I've left a bit down here where I'm going to put my sentiment. So I've actually raised both bits up. Pop this one onto here. So what I do is I see what it looks like either way. I think I quite like those colours showing that way, because you can't really see. Now if you can see, I've got a longer end than that end. So what I do is I take my scissors and I'll just trim off the end that's a bit longer, rather than trying to pull it off, and it looks fine. Sometimes I measure these a bit longer, so I've got a little bit of room to play with it. I'm not always the best at lining things up, but that's okay. And then I raise those up and I pop this down here, and that seems to fit beautifully there. And there you have it, a wonderful card to give to someone for a birthday. You can write in it, and yeah, okay. So I'll put the measurements and all the papers that I used at the bottom in my comments. Please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And at the end of this video I will put the photo of all the cards that I did. Thanks for watching. Bye.